quality versus quantity. Now, this is going to be for people who, maybe are starting the game and are, interested in, what endgame content might look like later on. Or maybe, you've been in the game for, 4 months and you still don't necessarily have a grasp on what characters you should be getting. Now, let's go over characters that are quality versus quantity. Now, what I mean by that is what characters have a lot of stages they can clear, right? If they're going into Stygian, they can clear a lot of the stages. However, they're not clearing it with the fastest times, right? So Stygian, I can take my Chaska into Stygian and she can clear it very, very, easily, kind of. But she's basically at like 100 seconds when she does. And if you know Stygian, that is only 20 seconds left. However, I take a character like, I don't know, Mulani or something into, Stygian. Like here, Chaska, 104 second time. And that 104 seconds is about what you will see for a lot of scenarios when we, are talking about Mulani. However, if we want to see a character who's going to get a fast clear time, we can of course go and, use a character like Mulani, and she is going to provide us a quality clear time that is going to age better than this quantity one. However, she's not going to have nearly as many times where it is going to be the optimal time to actually, use this character. So with Mulani, I can get a 65-second clear time. I could do better. I've had 50-second clear times before, but using my Kazuha team, it did get a 65-second clear time. However, Mulani only has really one structure of team, and that is a vape team. That is really where she excels, and honestly, I haven't enjoyed using her freeze team nearly as much as people, say that they enjoy it, so I would not consider, freeze as a structure for her team. So Mulani is a character I would consider a quality over quantity, character, because again, Chaska came in here and she defeated the Cactus Man with, 100 seconds, 104 seconds, leaving 16 seconds to spare, but Chaska can also go ahead and do the turtle, or she actually can't, but Chaska could also go ahead and do the Papilla very easily. Her team is very easily changed to fit the boss that she's fighting against. Mulani, not so much. If we go against a enemy who does not like having pyro applied to them, Mulani's chances of beating that boss, at least in a good time, go down severely, and you really miss out a lot of the value that Mulani had, right? However, a character like Chaska would just not use a pyro character in her team, and she would move on her with her day, basically. That is where we are at on that. So now, what happens when a character is basically both, right? I would consider Nevi and Mavuika to be both, right? Nevi a little bit worse on the quality side, right? Because he is a lot less damage nowadays. However, he is still decent. Like very decent, I would say. Let's go ahead and let's grab, shield on it again over here, and we can go ahead and grab Kazuha here too. I think we're gonna see some pretty nasty damage here, and it's not even gonna be a challenge for Nevi, right? Like, this is Nevi being giga buffed, right? He is high quality, I would say, is what this team is aiming for, not necessarily variety, right? We're not really here to do, and you're not really here to do small amounts of damage. As you can see, he's doing 60,000 damage already. Yeah, and then we're gonna go ahead and do this. Yes, we have all this, so we're ready to go ahead whenever we are ready. All right, we're gonna have that. We're gonna start this off again, and we're going to grab this, and we can see Nevi is hitting very strong damage there. And yeah, he's gonna go ahead and he's gonna, this is a boss that very much so works with Nevi a lot better than other times, other bosses maybe. Whereas, with him now, he's gonna be doing a lot of damage. Somehow 34,000. I don't get that. Okay. So as we can see there, 84 seconds, not at all the best time I've had with Nevi. I've cleared this guy in 50 seconds with Nevi. I don't know why. I must have just been missing Shieldon consistently every single time. I don't get why he kept hitting very low numbers, but whatever. We're just gonna, he did very well. He did stronger than Chaska, right, with 100 seconds. However, he has a malleable team, right? This team can be changed. I can go ahead and I can, throw Fiorina on it. I'm not restricted to characters on this team using specific roles, right? For this specific boss, yeah, I want Anefa, but again, if I'm fighting a different boss, guess who gets to go off the team rather than being a necessary part of the team? Kick her off. Simple as that, right? Mualani, you kick off, Mavuika, you better be replacing her with another Pyro, right? Like, okay. So that is where we're talking about, variety and a little bit of quality, right? He's very strong, but he does have that variety built in. Now, if we go ahead and we decide, all right, let's choose to do Mavuika, and let's go ahead and have, Mavuika be a character that we're going to use here. And, oh, nope. So let's go ahead and let's choose Mavuika here. Now, this one is a little tricky because if I don't play it right, I could end up taking a long time, but if I play it right, this is going to be super short. I believe what I did previously here, because I can't get my, E skill or my Q skill with Silali immediately. I think I did that, or no, I didn't do that. All right, whatever. We have this. So I'm going to be doing this, just a little bit of damage, right? Just a little bit of damage. And then we're going to go ahead and have all this go down. Yeah, let's run out of that. All right, let's start off with this. Give me my energy, and we will still wait. All right, here we go. Okay, and now we'll have the burst here. We'll erase the cryo, or the pyro, I mean, and then we'll have this. Now, what this is going to inevitably show us... No! Why? Why? We could have had... Oh, man. As I told you guys, we can have a really fast rotation, but we can also have a really slow rotation. Great. So we had nearly a 50-second rotation. I don't know why my rotation ended that fast. I wasn't expecting it to end that fast. I wasn't. I was just like, all right, we're going to go. And then it ended. I was like, what? I was completely flabbergasted. I was not expecting it to end. All right, there we go. Not good, it legitimately, the last 40 seconds of that, or, 30 seconds of that, was basically us just sat there, getting rid of his shield because I made a small mistake. I genuinely, I was not ready for him to just end the rotation. I wasn't ready for the rotation to end, so there. I think you can get what I was doing there. We nearly got like a 50-second rotation. Now, that's a C2 Mavuika, but again, she's gonna get a faster rotation than Nevi, right? And that boss isn't designed for Mavuika. There are a couple bosses that are a lot better designed for Mavuika and will get a higher design. This cactus boss is definitely designed to, be used with Anefa and Nevi. So, Nevi's getting a little bit faster of a clear time, with Anefa. It's a whole thing. That is a thing that you should look out for when it comes to DPSs, because there are DPSs nowadays that I would say are quantity, and they are more support based, right? You do need to have the better supports, right? Nevi is a little less support based than Chaska, obviously, and I would recommend people, if they don't have Nevi and they're looking for a variety DPS, or, they don't have Nevi or Chaska and they're looking for a variety DPS, right? I would go ahead and, pick out Nevi instead of Chaska, because I think Nevi is the overall stronger one, and he has, that while his element is Hydro, so it's a little less variety than Chaska, he is stronger overall, and I think that will help out people overall better. So, yeah, I just figured I'd make this video because I've noticed it does matter now. This is something that, it used to not really matter, right? You could just go ahead and do whatever you wanted, right? And Abyss wouldn't really, really punish you for using, a variety DPS, right? Because Abyss was just like not there. Whereas this can absolutely punish you even in fearless mode. And, you could be wondering, why is this happening, right? And it could be because, well, you have a variety DPS rather than a DPS who is, there for, to get good clear times, right? And, especially if you're trying to do dire, variety variety DPSs are not useful in here. Nevi can maybe, or he has cleared, you know, the Cactus Man for me. But, you know, if we're talking Chaska, I'm not clearing this with Chaska. You know, R1 Chaska, not happening. I don't have R1 Chaska, but I can already tell you it's not happening, right? It's just an issue with variety DPSs. If you go too much variety, not enough quality, you'll end up, you know, figuring out that, oh, you know, it doesn't necessarily work out that well. So yeah, I hope you guys found this video informative. If you did, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.